Yo, how's it going? So, I want to do a video talking about 32-inch monitores. Why do I have them? Why do I choose them? Why do I use them? And why do I infuse them? No, I don't infuse them. I wouldn't recommend you infuse a monitor, but it's a decent question that I get asked a fair bit. And if I was, I'm certain that I would do it over and over again. I'd go for 32-inch monitors for myself. And I think this video could be very helpful to people wondering what's the best size to get. Turns out in this case, size did matter. So in general with monitors, it's 27-inch triples or 32-inch triples. Like that's the standard going rate. Like when you're looking for two monitors, sizes for triples. It was a tough one to get out for some reason. You can go smaller if you want, of course, or you could go with 50-inch screens, 4K and all that. But in general, we're just going to keep it very simple. And anyone I know that has triples usually is using 1440p 27-inch, 1440p 32-inch. By the way, guys, Simagic are still doing their giveaway of the GT Neo steering wheel. Come the end of August, we'll have another winner, similar to how Brandon was at the end of May. So if you're a subscriber, you've been entered in to win. Shout out to Simagic for being so cool. Now, back to the video. The argument for not using 32s is simple. It's like, oh, you don't need to see the roof and the floor. You know, you just want to see that thin strip in front of you. But when you have 27s, to get them to come around you, you gotta get them pretty close to you. For myself personally, I'm not into that at all. Like that was one of the biggest things that I did not like about owning 27-inch screens prior to using these, is the fact to get 27-inch screens to feel like a window into the world that you're looking into, you need to have them a little bit far away, but then when they're far away, they start losing their height and it really looks like a thin strip in front of you. Now, this might be a hot take. For me, it's a ice cold take, but if you're going to have a simulator with triple screens, and those, it's going to have a wingspan, you may as well get a bit of extra height, especially if your budget allows it. If your budget doesn't allow it, obviously, well, then you're pretty confined on what you're looking for. But the jump from 22-inch 1440p screens to 32-inch 1440p screens in terms of price, it's not astronomical, especially if you're committed to getting a triple screen racing simulator. You're already throwing a bit of money on the fire here, and that's okay. If you're passionate about it and it brings you joy and you can afford it, absolutely fine. So for me, the extra bit of height mattered. And why is that? Because every time I was using my 27-inch screens, even when I nailed the FOV, the cars just didn't look right. Like I wanted it to be a window looking into the sim, and for some reason, even when the cars were physically massive, in theory it was the perfect FOV, they just didn't seem big. For some reason, there was something playing on my mind that I'm looking at a screen right now. I'm not looking at a window into the world. And I think that reason was because they were so close to me. For 27-inch screens to work as intended in sim racing, you're looking at a distance of 60 to 85 centimeters, like tops, really less than 85, I think. Some people are really putting 27-inch screens over the shaft of their base. For me personally, that's not good because you move your head a small bit and it starts breaking the FOV a little bit because of how close it is to you. There's not enough play for the FOV, the way it's set, to kind of move with your head. When you have 32-inch screens at 1440p, you can push it back a bit. Essentially, you're getting a very similar vibe to 1440p, but it's a little bit bigger everywhere, just a bit, because you've moved it back further away. And instead of being like, oh, I'm looking at a screen here, it's more like you're sitting down with breathing space and you're actually looking out a window into the world. Like that extra height on the monitor for me just ticked that box perfectly. There is talk of this in the VR scene. Honestly, I didn't look into it much, but that what I'm trying to describe here is essentially bigger just feels bigger. That's the way it is. If you go grab your phone and stand in front of a 50-inch TV and cover the 50-inch TV perfectly with your phone and watch a video of, let's say, a GT3 car chasing another GT3 car versus on the screen, even though proportional wise they'll look the same, because technically the size wise from your eyes will be the same. You could put your finger up and cover the 50-inch TV like that and put your phone up, and you know what I mean? The TV's still going to feel bigger for most people because it's just, the brain's silly like that. It just does that. I can't remember. There was a cool study done on it. Completely forget. If you want to look into it, it's actually kind of interesting how that works. But for me, bigger felt a little bit bigger. Now, there is other things as well, like cost. It's only a little bit more expensive to get a 32-inch over a 27-inch. And if you're getting 3 screens, you want to get something that you're going to be content with for as long as possible. Or at least that's the way I think of it, especially have an exit plan for them, you know, find another use for them maybe in a few years. So my old 27s, 2 of them went into an office and the third one ended up as a 4th screen. There is a smart route to take if you want to maybe pick up secondhand screens and then kind of phase them out over time. But yeah, so cost wise, not that much in the difference. Personally, for myself, with the deal I got, I think it was less than €200 or something for each panel, which for me, I was pretty content with that for the type of panels they were. They're like 165 hertz. I think it's 1500 or radius. Like, it's just a very slight curve. I absolutely adore them. One thing that could be a consideration is the fact they use a little bit more power just because the screen's bigger. There's more light and more heat being made. And if your video game controller is a servo motor, you know, I think that's a ship that may have sailed already for a lot of people, but it definitely is a consideration that the longer that they're on, the more juice they're using, the hotter the room can get. That's all pretty obvious stuff. But then again, with 32s, you get to rock them a little bit further away from you. Again, giving you 1, perceived breathing space, and number 2, actual breathing space. I'm just realizing that this video might seem wish-washy, but I know for a fact if there's any serious lookers at the moment really torn between 27 or 32, I know for a fact this is making it easier because these are the considerations of someone who's lived with both. I would have loved this information back in the day when I was looking for it. Another thing that's worth throwing in there, I went for a very slight curve. Don't know why. I know why, because they were cheaper. They were cheaper, and I don't know why curved monitors are cheaper than flat monitors. It just is what it is. It is what it is. I think they were hyped up at one point, and then basically nobody wanted a curved monitor. I think that's it, or it's cheaper to make, and there's a heap of them lying around. So they're much more lower in price than the flat screen monitors. I think in general, they're VA panels, and flat screens are more IPS panels. Again, I didn't look too much into all that. I looked into it enough to know it doesn't fucking matter. Honestly, whatever monitor you get, if it's an upgrade from what you were using before, you'll be fine. You'll be wowed by it. But the slight curve really mattered in the aesthetic of the rig. When I sit down in the rig, setting up the FOV is fine. I'm not using a radius because I'm not putting the monitors in a perfect circle. Technically, it's like this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm breaking the arc, so I'm just pretending they're flat screens and I'm making up a degrees that fits for me. But when you look at a rig that has curved screens, it just looks 10 times better. It looks like it sits in its space much more comfortably. It looks way more intentional. Flat screens can look so aggressive on a sim racing setup. If you ever see like flat screens, you know, the aesthetics matter with a rig. Look at all the space it takes up. If you can't look at it and it doesn't look the part, you need to, you know, it's definitely worth considering because effectively at its size, it's a hump of furniture. It's a hump of furniture. So on top of it, serving a good purpose, performance, doing all the bits that you want to do on it for racing, when you're not using it, you want to be able to look at it and appreciate your hard work. And for myself, having curved screens really just added the cherry on top and made the simulator a lot cooler. Can't quantify cooler, but yeah. But yeah, those are like the core reasons why I went with 32 inch. I could get into all the nitty gritty and stuff, but there's no need. Like, it's a very simple reason why I did it and why I chose it and why I choose it again. 1440p for me is the sweet spot. Having a machine that will run triple 4K is a challenge, I think, even for the best of machines. If you go online and you look up, you know, iRacing 4K triple screen guide for max frames, like, you know, there's a lot of tinkering that goes on in there and you're really pushing a machine so things can break in certain areas, software can choke up, drivers can kind of fail on you. Personally, that's not something that's not a road that interests me. And I think having 3 screens at 1440p, if we imagine them all as one screen, it's a pretty acceptable resolution. We're talking 1440 up and like 7680. I think 7680 across. Like, it's a fair bit. So yeah, 32 inch screens. Would I do it again? Absolutely, in a heartbeat. The main question is, can you do it in terms of space? They are bigger, about 10 to 25 centimeters wider wingspan, both sides included, than 27 inch. But then again, if you move it back a little bit, you bring the angle in, you can get it very close to where 27s would have been when they're up in your face, and then you don't want to be boxed in. So you would have had quite a wide angle with the 27s in anyway. So You need space for 32s to work. If you're in a confined space, getting 32s can really be a bit of a burden. And there are many, many, many cases where 27s just make sense. That's the other part as well. Like if you just don't have the space for it and you're trying to figure if maybe if I put my rig on the roof and all this stuff, you're probably too far. You don't have the space for it. You need to be able to get in behind your rig to access cables. If you don't have space for it, more than likely you're taking the smart route and you're actually mounting your PC on the back of your rig and using that space wisely. Again, you need to get back in there sometimes because you need to move cables around, you need to clean your PC, you need to take it out to do upgrades or just inspect it, all that kind of stuff. You need access behind, and if you put your rig in a position where it's completely inaccessible, telling yourself, oh no, it's fine, I'll figure it out, I'll just swim through a crack. Trust me, no, trust me, you don't want to do it. What you'll have to do is actually remove a monitor. You'll have to go behind, unscrew the screws, remove a monitor, and still swim through a crack. So yeah, that's my take on if you do need 27s, but 32s, I've been super happy with them for sim race, and I couldn't imagine doing it on anything bigger or smaller. And yeah, hopefully this video is useful. Would have been for me quite a while ago. And let me know what you